Bonjour, everyone. Hi. This is Neshi Lokotz, your host for the Spiritual Roundtable, right here at Star Nations Organization's main fan page on Facebook. Today is Wednesday, October 2nd. Yeah, it's Wednesday, middle of the week. Yay! We got lots to do today for the show. And so welcome, everybody. Those are in the live chat. Welcome. So glad you're with me this afternoon, this evening, this morning, wherever you're at on Grandmother Earth. And if you're watching the recorded version of this, hello to you too. Glad that you were making time in your day to watch the recorded show. We do appreciate that. And today is another rainy day here. This is 2 days back to back. And I'm telling you, we got lots and lots of rain. We do. We got flooding going on and that kind of stuff. And so it's just an interesting kind of play of energies going on today. So today is about the card draw. Last night in my weekly show, Communications from Home, I asked this question. And the question is, do you love spiritual conversations or conversations about spirit, right? And I really do. I really do love having conversations about spirit. I also love being able to share that with all of you. And so before we get too far down the road with the show, I am going to send the show over to my newsfeed. And I invite you to do the same thing so that we can help other people find us, right? Easier. All right. I just have to find our live stream here. Here we are. All right. I'm loving it, and I'm sending it over to my newsfeed. Just takes a moment. And there we go. Oops. Got to spell right. That always helps. There we go. That's to my newsfeed. And then I'm going to send it over to one of our closed groups here at Star Nations. It's the Star Nations live stream shows closed group. That's where most of the community members, or the peeps, hang out. And so I'm just going to ask them if they want to please join us. There we go. There we go. It's always easy to do. And I appreciate you guys taking the time to do that. Yeah, let's see. Hey, Violet's here. Hello, Violet. Good to have you here, lady. It's always good to see you in the chat. The card draw that I do for the show, actually, I started drawing cards every morning. Let's see. That would have been 2000 or 2001, something like that. And the reason why I even did it is because I was tuning in, focusing in on my intuition, consciously doing that, right? And so, and it was good practice. And I would draw the card with the intention of, please show me what's the energy that's flowing that's most important for me to know about today. So I kind of get a heads up and get prepared, right? And I did that for a really, really long time, every day. And then eventually it kind of rolled into maybe every other day or 3 or 4 times a week, right? Yeah. And then a year and a half ago, I was doing an Instagram post to our business account here at Star Nations, and my spiritual team gave me this nudge and said, why don't you post a quote from the card you drew this morning? And I did. And it went over pretty well. And so I just started using a quote from the daily card draw that I was doing on our Instagram. And then come along May, and over a year ago, right? And I got another nudge, and that was, why don't we do a live stream show, a daily live stream show about the card draw? I thought, wow, daily? That's 7 days, man. But we did it. We did 7 days a year, for a whole year. Yeah. It was quite a commitment. And I think that we really got to know each other pretty well, I think, as a community through those early card draws. And then because you know how life is and trying to get things done for Star Nations, I had dropped down to 4 days a week. And then now I'm doing 2 days a week. And I'll be this way for a little while because I've got some pretty big things going on in Star Nation's organization planning stuff that it really does need my attention. But I didn't want to give it up. I didn't want to say, let's put this in mothballs for a year. No, no, not even for a few months. And so we get to be together at least on Wednesday afternoons at 3 p.m. Eastern time, and on Sunday afternoons at 3 p.m. Eastern, but we're doing that particular live stream over in the closed group, the Star Nations live stream closed group. And in that show, we're doing dream interpretations. And last Sunday was the very first one. It went really well. I enjoyed it. I hope you guys did too. All right. So let's see. Lisa's here too. Hi, Lisa. Good to have you here. And Shelly's here too. Hello, Shelly. Good to have you here. So much fun, isn't it? Okay. So the cards. This is the deck that we're still using. It is Angels and Ancestors Oracle Cards by Kyle Gray. And we've been using, I think this is starting our second month. This is turned out to be one of my favorite decks. We'll eventually switch it out as well. When I get that nudge from my team to say, let's move to a different deck. But for right now, this is the deck that we're using, right? Kyle Gray is from Glasgow, Scotland. And the illustrator, who is Lily Moses, she's from New Zealand. And so in the cards, in the information, we certainly get the perspective, the flavoring of the UK, okay? And so from a Native American standpoint and a feminine standpoint, sometimes I add a little bit of my culture in there as well in the conversation. So let's do this. The cards, right? I'm going to turn off the crawler because sometimes that gets a bit annoying when we're looking at the cards. There we go. All right, here's the first card. Direction Guardian, choose your path. Direction Guardian, choose your path. Right? All right, so let's really take a look at this card. The 4 directions, each has an animal. And in the top portion of the wheel is the angel. That's Angel Ezekiel. Right? And then we have a lion, an eagle, and a bull or a cow. Yeah. Okay. And right in the center, see if we can get close enough, we have an eye, right? And on each side, up in the top, we have triangles, one facing down and one facing up. The downward facing triangle represents earth energies, and the one facing up is representing the sky energies. Okay. Those are called triangles, but in sacred geometry, they're also called tetrahedrons. And right above Archangel Ezekiel is the sun, or perhaps the moon. Don't know which. Right? Direction guardian. And so basically, you know, we're looking in the center at a compass. Yeah. So the direction guardian, choosing your path, you know, we know that the direction guardian is helpful in helping us to make those kinds of decisions. Sometimes, you know, we're trying to make decisions, whether it's, you know, in our personal life, in our businesses, in our careers, in our education, and we have to decide what we're going to do, what path we're going to take. And in some cases, we're even thinking about our spiritual or religious beliefs, right? Because as we age, as we get mature physically, we also hopefully will mature emotionally and mentally and spiritually, right? And many times we have to kind of filter through those beliefs that we were taught from a very young age on, and decide if it's still a truth for us. Does it still support us, right? And if it doesn't, then what we can do is let it go and then replace it with something that does support us in our growth, right? Yeah. Yeah. See, as a Native American woman, sometimes some, not all, but some of the beliefs that I grew up with really kind of hold a female back. And those beliefs were passed down for many generations. From the time the first settlers, or actually the missionaries, showed up, right? And so our lives changed quite a bit. Our belief systems changed quite a bit and took on more of a patriarchal belief system. And so as an adult, I had to sift through that. And as a drum maker and a drummer, I had to sift through that, because in my culture, women don't touch drums, or didn't past tense. There's a whole bunch of us that do now. But when I first got started, there weren't that many, less than a handful. Yeah. And so I had to sift through that. So the directional guardian was very, very helpful during that time frame, right? Because I had to choose a different path to take, and knowing that it was going to ruffle a lot of feathers in my world. And it did. But you know what? I'm so much more happier for it, because I found freedom in it, right? So we all have to do that at some point. And we also, many times, you know, we have to make those decisions on, even if we're going to move, if we're going to change residence, whether it's in the same town or across the country, right? We have to weigh do I go, do I not go? The directional guardian can help us do that. So this is the very first card. The message is: connect with your deepest desires. Then choose the path that will make your heart and soul sing. Right? And sometimes that decision that brings us that happiness, that makes our soul sing, right? Sometimes that is the path less traveled, the road less traveled. Yeah. And sometimes it seems a little scary, and, you know, and you might even have some friends or family saying, "What are you doing?" You know, when I used to work for the state of Wisconsin back in the late 90s, and up until about 2006. And when I came back, I was on sabbatical for about 7 months. My husband was going down to Oklahoma, and I was going to go with him, right? And so when we got back, I had the opportunity to go part-time. Not a lot of people were jumping for that part-time position in our bureau. Why? Is because it kind of screws up your retirement. And so when I applied, I mean, it was like I was standing outside of myself watching me talk to my supervisor. and saying, yeah, I think I'd like to apply for that. And he was very enthusiastic about it. And I got the position, but some of my coworkers and some of my friends there and saying, what are you doing? You're going to screw up your retirement. And I said, yeah, but I'm not staying here until I retire. I'm just not doing it. I'm not a lifer, And so sometimes when we take the road less traveled, that peer pressure can kind of try to persuade you, right, in one direction or another. Yeah. So the Direction Guardian card represents the angels of the directions. These amazing angels are the ones who come to us when we're at the crossroads and don't know which way to go, when we're unsure of what is right for us or of the bigger picture. They can help us know what is best for all involved, for the highest good, right? It says that your path isn't set in stone. There are many directions you can take. None of them are wrong, as they all hold purpose and perfect opportunities to grow and to learn. If you're feeling indecisive, choose the path that you know is going to make you light up, and choose with your heart. And choose with your heart. Right? So are you feeling that indecision? Do you have something that you've known that you have to decide about relatively soon? Do you know if there's something coming up for you, right, that you have to make a decision about maybe before the beginning of the new year, right? Yeah. Now, I still believe that it's all about balance, and that we balance the head and the heart, right? Our mental thoughts with our emotions. And I see those lists of the pros and cons very helpful. I do, because you know why? It gets that all that rumination going around in circles out on a piece of paper, right? Yeah. So you're not wasting your energy in ruminating about it, right? And you can actually see it. And sometimes, yes, that helps you make the final decision. But other times, we also have to use our emotions, our heart, and what's going to make us happy, right? Yeah. And sometimes that outweighs the pros and the cons, right? Have you ever done that? Done the list, sat back, and said, okay, what's going to make me happy, right? And then you choose, your choice goes against the list that you made with the pros and the cons. Done that a couple of times. Yeah. All right. Hey, Christine's here. Hey, Christine, one of my sisters is in the house. Love it. Love it. Love it. Rochelle says, hello, Neshi, Deb, and Joy. Oh, hi, Deb. Hi, Rochelle. Good to have you both here. And Lisa says, quitting my job was a leap of faith. Allowed me to take care of my mom. It was scary, but so worth it. Oh, I know what you mean. I know exactly what you mean, Lisa. I already had my own business. I've been doing, spiritual classes, teaching. I was certified as a teacher for Drunvalo, Melchizedek, and Awakening Illuminated Heart. Literally followed my heart on that one, and enjoyed teaching those classes, and being a part of an international group of teachers. Yeah, my soul was singing, certainly. But then my mom had already moved in with us, and I think I was like 3 years into the teaching, something like that. And she started having a really hard time, lots of pain. And I had to make a decision, how am I going to support my mom? How am I going to help her through this? And I knew that I wasn't going to be able to teach as many classes as the school wanted me to teach. And so I ended up having to resign my teaching to be able to take care of my mom. Yeah. And that original choice was a good choice. It was a good choice. It took about 1.5 years to get her pain stabilized. And by that time, lots of things were changing. Right. And so I know exactly what you mean, that leap of faith. And it's a leap of faith into ourselves. Yeah. And there's something that Ed Langdon, one of our show hosts here at Star Nations, his show is Life Wisdom with Ed Langdon. And he's our law of attraction expert here at Star Nations. And one of the things that he suggests whenever we have a choice is that we try it on in our meditations, in our daydreams, right? We try on the choices and what it would feel like, right? And if it doesn't feel good, then that's not the choice for you. If you try it on and you are happy and you can feel the growth of it, or you feel kind of, light and let's get ready to go kind of feeling, then you know that one's for you. And so it's kind of like putting on a coat in a way, right? And modeling it to see how well it fits and if it's comfortable and if it makes you look good, right? Yeah. I like that. I think that is a really, really good tip. A really good tip when we're making those decisions, when we find ourselves at those crossroads. And the other one is to call on your spiritual team. Call on the direction guardian and ask for assistance in making that decision. They can't make it for you, but they certainly can help you by bringing you information, right, to help you decide. Yeah. All right. Rochelle says, I feel my life is limbo right now. I don't know when Daylene will actually move to the U.S. with her mother. Eric and her Daylene are meeting for 3 weeks in Atlanta, Georgia. Hopefully they'll be settled by spring. Okay. So how does that put your life in limbo though, Rochelle? It sounds like it's your son's life. And Daylene's life is kind of in limbo. And if her mom's coming to the United States with her, I could see that too. But how does that affect you? Are they moving in with you? I don't know. We need a little more information. Let us know. So Daylene is from South Africa, and Eric celebrated their first anniversary September 26th. Ah, that's sweet. That's sweet. But they're separated by a couple continents. Yeah. Violet says, I have someone who is very close to me that just doesn't understand why I want to do what I want to do. They just are completely against me, and I just don't know what to do. Oh, that's so hard, isn't it? When it's a family member, right, that is controlling your decision, right? Whether it's a parent or whether it's a spouse, perhaps even an older child sometimes will weigh in, right? Yeah. That's what I meant about the balance between the head and the heart, right? Making sure you're grounded. Do your grounding twice a day. Make sure you're grounded, stable, and balanced so that when you share, and you should be sharing about your life and whatever it is that you want to do, whether it is, selling the skin products and that sort of thing, and they can feel your excitement. They can feel how dedicated you are to it. And letting them know that this is my soul work and it really makes me happy, and you're being honest about it, right? You're standing in your truth. Now, whenever we stand in our truth and we come from our heart, the other person can feel that. They might not intellectually recognize it, but they'll feel it in their heart. And when we set up our boundaries, because healthy boundaries is good no matter what, right? And our boundary is created from love and not fear. Most times those boundaries aren't tested. the ones that are created from love. They're not tested. The ones that are created in fear are tested all the time. We spend a lot of our energy trying to keep that boundary in place, right? Yeah. So I understand, Violet. I really do. But you know what? This is also an opportunity. It's an opportunity for your soul growth, whatever that is for you, for your soul contract, right? And maybe it is about using your gifts and to be able to use them in a harmonious way. In other words, it doesn't have to cause strife. It doesn't. It doesn't have to be painful. But you also need to be able to stand in your truth, right? Yeah, Paul and I went through that years and years and years ago. That was when I first started teaching, not teaching, but as a feng shui practitioner and an official sacred space practitioner, although I'd been doing that since I was 13. I was having a good time with it. I really was. And one day he came to me and he said, okay, you have to make a decision. Is this a business or is this a hobby? Is this a business or is this a hobby? And he said, I don't care either way, one or the other. You can't have both. Because if it's a hobby, it's starting to cost a lot of money. If it's a business, you got to treat it like a business, right? In other words, you have to have some structure to it. You have to have a business plan. You have to have a marketing plan. You have to have a sales plan, right? You have to walk the talk, so to speak. And so after that, yeah, because I told them in that conversation that this is really about my soul contract. This is about doing my soul work. And so if that's what it takes for me to do my soul work, okay, then let's put together a sales plan. Let's put together that business plan. And so, but without that conversation, I don't know. I don't know how long it would have taken me to really put some structure, some foundational pieces underneath that first business. Yeah. So see it as an opportunity if you can, Violet, right? See it as a positive thing, that this is an opportunity for soul growth. This is an opportunity to apply your gifts in a good way, right? Yeah. I'm not saying it's easy because it's kind of scary stepping out there and using your voice when you're not used to it, right? Yeah. You'll do good though, because if it's your soul work and that's what you're meant to do, you'll make it happen. Hello, Keisha. Good to have you here. First-time viewer from Missouri. Hello there. Hope everyone's having a great day. So we're hoping you are too. Welcome to the Spiritual Roundtable and welcome to Star Nation's organization. It's always good to have new people here. Thank you. Rochelle. He's living with me now because at the moment he does not have the financial means of renting a place. I have another issue that I don't feel taking. Okay. All right. So that's how you're involved, is because Eric is in your home, is living with you. And so his that limbo feeling you were talking about, right? Yeah. Okay. I got it now. Thank you, Rochelle, for sharing that, because it was kind of out there. Now, Rochelle, this isn't the directional guardian, right? If you have a decision to make in all of this, then yes, most definitely call on the guardian, call on your spiritual team. But if it's about supporting Eric, here's something that I've done. I go into meditation and I ask to have a conversation soul to soul with the other person, not mental mind to mental mind, but soul to soul, right? High self to high self, and asking how how do I best support Eric in what he's experiencing right now, right? And having him live with you obviously is really big, and it's very helpful. But maybe there's smaller things, that you're able to assist him with, so that perhaps the wait doesn't feel as long. Yeah. And it's good that you take trips. I know that you and Deb take road trips, and so that's good to be able to keep busy that way too, so it doesn't feel so long. Violet said, thank you for that. You're welcome, Violet. All right, let's get to the second card. We have 2 today. All right, so here's the second card. It's the Traveler. Move in a new direction. Move in a new direction. So here's Spirit showing us the direction guardian, saying that we have a decision to make. What path are we going to choose? Which direction are we going to go in? And remember, there's no wrong choices. All right. It's just a different experience leading to the same destination. So, and then Spirit comes in with this Traveler. Move in a new direction. So perhaps it is taking a new direction in your decision making. Because this particular card is all about either taking a physical journey, maybe to another, maybe it's on vacation, or maybe you're moving to a completely different state or different town. It's being a traveler, going to a physical location, or you're doing inward travel, right? You're experiencing the soul quest kind of journey. Yeah. And so no matter whether it's inward or outward, the traveler travels light. Do you see that? She only has one bag. And look, in the background, up in the corner there's the compass again. This time, this compass doesn't have a central eye. Right? So really, this travel is all about you. All about you. Moving in a new direction. So with that singular bag that she's carrying, we got to travel light, especially if you're doing those inward travels, right? And there again, we have to decide for ourselves what we believe and what doesn't work for us anymore. Because it's those kinds of things that are baggage, right? That we haven't taken care of that business. We haven't let it go yet. We haven't replaced it with something, right? Something that really does support you. Yeah. And in those travels, some of those things also have to do with the other people in our lives, right? If it's your career and you're deciding to start your own business rather than work for someone else, at some point, you're going to be resigning from your position. And so it involves your coworkers, it involves your supervisor or your boss at some point, right? Yeah. If it's in, perhaps it's more like Rochelle's situation, right? There's family members that you're waiting on to make those decisions for yourself. And in that inner travel, just like I had suggested for Rochelle, is to meet with them soul to soul, so that you have a better understanding of what your role is in that situation, right? Because perhaps you're not stuck in the middle, right? Perhaps you're more on the periphery as a support than you are a main character. And so that frees up your energy to take a different direction. Yeah, the traveler. Here's the message. It says, welcome any opportunities to travel, either to the outer world or to your inner worlds. The card represents the gypsy spirit within. The opportunity to move in a new direction is coming your way, and ancestral wisdom is encouraging you to welcome it with open arms. This card often comes up when you have a chance to go through a process of awakening and understanding even more about the amazing qualities you have to share with the world. Often such journeys can be lonely, but this in itself can teach you that you are never really alone, and your angels and ancestors are there for you. The road you're on may be the road less traveled, but this journey is going to be highly beneficial for your emotional and spiritual growth. Remember to keep things simple and to lighten your load, because that will make your journey even more enjoyable. And there's a good chance that along the way, you'll make new friends who will become companions for a lifetime. You're encouraged to see how far you've come and how you're really grown as a person, because this recognition will support you too and going even further. Right? The traveler. The traveler. So how many of you are actually doing the physical travel, right? The physical travel, perhaps, like I said, you're changing locations and you have to research your new environment. Where are you going to live? What school district, if you have children, the best school district to have your children in? All kinds of things before you actually make that physical move, right? And we all know moving an entire household is not an easy thing to do. It's got lots of planning to it and lots of bits and pieces to pull together, right? And so if you're doing a physical travel, there's lots of things that you have to make decisions about. If you're not doing the physical travel, then Spirit is letting you know that you have an inward journey, that either you're on it or you're about to go on it. And it has everything to do with your soul growth. Yeah. In other words, and that fits in with what we talked about last night, I think, on my evening show. It was about our intuition during changing times, right? So that soul growth could mean that you're going to be learning even more about how to use your intuition, even more about how to tap into your gifts that you came in with, right? Yeah, that inward travel. And even with that, sometimes there's decisions to make. There's just, one of our longtime listeners, he recently made a decision to join a group, and it's a different kind of spiritual belief. And so, learning everything from the ground up, literally. Yeah, and so sometimes it's our spiritual beliefs that we get to investigate and travel with and see how this new belief system, how it supports us, right? Yeah. Rochelle is saying finding a hairdresser, dentist, car mechanic. Yeah, a doctor. Right. Those moves, those physical moves I see them in it as an adventure. Paul and I have moved a lot. We have owned several homes and sold them and then bought again, right? And so I see it as an adventure. Not a lot of people do that. A lot of people have problems with change. And so, yeah, there's lots of bits and pieces to do that physical move. It's just not packing your bags and leaving. Well, although there are some people who have done that too, I suppose. Violet's saying we just moved back to Michigan, moved back to Michigan. Really? Oh, I didn't know that. Wow. Okay, so you've had lots of major changes going on. Rochelle says, welcome, Violet. I live in Michigan all my life. Love it here. Lots of water. Yeah. So, and it's true. It's true, Violet. There's lots of community members at Star Nations that are in Michigan, a whole lot of them. And so I'm sure that you'll see some familiar names as you watch the shows and see who's in the live chat, right? You might see names that you're familiar with coming out of Michigan. Yeah, it's good though. Okay, so I'm going to show you both cards together, okay? And so, one of the things that we learned by doing this show together for this long is that when I show you the cards together, the best thing we can do is call to our spiritual teams, the whole team, your whole team, call them to you, bring them in close. They're always with us. But what we're doing is we're turning our attention to them and asking them to all be present with us, okay? And you're going to ask them to please help you take in the information coming from the cards that is meant for you in an optimal way, in an optimal amount, okay? Now, usually I ask in the beginning of the shows, who is grounded today? Who remembered to do their grounding? And so if you haven't done your grounding, why don't you take a moment right now, okay, and do your grounding. I'll chat a little bit, and by that time you guys will have done your grounding. The reason why it's important to have your grounding is so that when you take in the information, you're in a grounded, centered, balanced way so that you can take in as much as you possibly can of the information. Allergies. I forgot to take my medication yesterday, and so I'm feeling it today. Talk about grounding. Made my eyes water. All right, let's see if I get a voice. Oh my goodness, that was interesting. All right. So being grounded, being centered, means that we are capable of taking in a lot of information that's around us and not feeling overwhelmed, right? And so we can take in the vibration, we're taking in the information in the seen and the unseen. All right, so here we go. You guys ready? Here's the two cards. So we have the first card, which is the Direction Guardian. Choose your path. Second card is a Traveler. Move in a new direction. Now, notice male, female, basically, right? The angel, Ezekiel, is shown as a male, sacred masculine. The Traveler is shown in the sacred feminine. That's balance. The balance between the mental mind and the emotions, the heart. But we're talking about choice here. Right? We're talking about choice. Selecting. Spirit is offering us information about an opportunity to choose a new path. The directional guardian can help us in that selection of the new path. Your spiritual team can help you. And if you're feeling that you need to ask for some courage and to be brave to make that selection of the new path, and you're doing it for the highest good, your highest good, right? Ask your spiritual team to show you what's your next best step. Once you've chosen your path, they'll be with you the entire way, helping you out. You just have to ask, right? You know, and no matter what path you choose, remember, you're not alone. The angels are right there with you. So are your ancestors. Your entire team is with you. There's no wrong choice. It's just a different experience. And since they're not written in stone, once you start down the path and you're thinking, I don't know, I think I made a mistake, choose again. You can do that. You can change your mind. You can change your mind just to have a different experience, right? All right. Taking it all in, all those layers. And remember, with her, she's traveling light. So you may have to let go of some emotional, mental baggage. Travel light. Oh, I know what I was going to do. I wanted you to take a note of the compasses in both these pictures. So the one with the directional guardian it's in color, right? A fullness, right? Full spectrum. The one with the traveler is in black and white. It's got a little color in it, kind of a reddish brown. The traveler has an eye in the center, all seen. And there's not one with the traveler. Notice behind her is the map of land, continents. The map behind Archangel Ezekiel is the cosmos, the stars, the planets, the sun, the moon. Right? So no matter what direction you take, you have Grandmother Earth and Grandfather Sky there too. Pretty good, I think. I do believe. I'm going to check the time. We got not quite 10 minutes. It's good. We can have a little bit more of a discussion, conversation about choice, choosing. Yeah. You know, as us two-leggeds, we can complicate things pretty well, don't you think? We can take something simple and make it really complicated. And we can take the complicated and make it 10 stories different complicated because sometimes our mental mind is the one that's spinning it out of proportion, right? So when you're grounded, chances are you won't be doing that. There's an old saying, making a mountain out of a molehill, right? So when we make choices, when we choose another direction, many times we think about it more in the physical sense. I think that the most life-changing decisions, in a good way, with your spiritual growth is what I'm talking about. It happens from the inside out. So it's taking those spiritual journeys inward to find out more about yourself as a spiritual being, right? And so your spiritual team can help you with that. And many times it's only done with meditation, you know. Back in 2016, 2017, I was doing a lot of meditation in early 2017. But I wasn't going anywhere. I physically, I was probably home 99% of the time. But it was in my meditations that I traveled the furthest inward, right? And so it's one of those decisions that we have to make. If we're doing the internal journey, the internal traveling, we have to commit to that direction, which means that we have some self-discipline about doing our meditations. Because when we get busy, isn't that the first thing that gets crossed off the list to do? It's because I don't have time, right? Spending time in nature is another good one. It's going for those walks, or just to go sit out in the backyard. You don't necessarily have to go to the Rocky Mountains unless you want to. That was fun. But when we're doing this kind of travel, sometimes it takes weeks, months to be able to start in the beginning and then do the completion part of it, right? Yeah. And so it's that inward travel that even if you're doing that one, there's some commitment to it, right? So that you're not sitting here next year at this time talking about, well, I never finished that. I didn't even really get started. Yeah. Put it on your calendar. Put it as an appointment with yourself. It's important. Your soul growth is important. And so to be able to commit to it, right? Yeah. I know. Rochelle's, I'm sorry, thanking Rochelle there. Lisa says, we want to move away from here. Could be another state. My mom is in a nursing home now. Oh, really? When did that happen? Okay. When she transitions over, we'll be getting focused. I need to decide what psychic gift I will use to start my business. So this rings true on an inner world and outer one. Yes, it does. Sometimes, Lisa, it feels like you and I are on parallel course here, because Paul and I were just talking about that last night. There's going to be a time. There's going to be a time when my mom's not going to be here, and I won't have to be tethered to the house the way I am now. And so, what is that going to be like? What do we want to do? How do we want to do it? Right? Yeah, and so it takes a little bit of dreaming. That's where Paul and I got started. The dream. That's how we got the RV, because we're going to eventually start taking short trips, and that kind of thing, right? And so, yeah, sometimes it starts, Lisa, with the dreaming, right? The daydreams, and the possibilities. Yeah, letting your creativity uncap it. And we're not really committing it to one way or another. What we're doing is we're playing. It's like drawing in a way, right? Doodling in a way. We're putting some energy to it, yes, but it has more of a playful feel to it. What do we want to create? And then, out of all of that, those playful times, something will emerge where it'll feel like that's it. So start playing, start daydreaming, start dreaming the dream, That's a good place to start. All right. So, so we have a couple of shows for you this week. Yeah. We have Polly Joe's tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. That is Soul Connections. And for those of you who are working on your concentrated, focused on your healing work, tonight's a good night. Polly Joe, what she does, and she and her team, they create the sacred space for us. As we come in with our own intentions and our own spiritual team, they work together to help heal and remove that kind of debris and that sort of thing. The second half is all about the card draw. So if you enjoy having a mini reading, join us tonight. Polly Joe will draw a card for you, and she'll keep drawing cards until everybody has received one. And so that's tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern Time at Chakra Sessions for her evening show called Soul Connections. All right. And then tomorrow night, Thursday, is Constance Shearwater. And her show is The Spiritual Mysteries of Life. And let me tell you, her shows, there's always some golden nugget that's shared. And I get to produce her show, so I get to sit in the front row and take note, right? And so join us for that. That's 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And she's always talking about something related to the spiritual mysteries of life. Yeah. Okay. So, and then we also have a couple things coming up. I'm working on Star Nation's October issue magazine. Right now, it's all turned over to the layout specialists. I call them my elves. They're working on the layout of the October issue. We'll be publishing that on the 10th of October. I think you guys are going to like this one. Got some good stuff in it. We'll be sharing that with you on the show. I usually reserve one show, evening show, to share the magazine with you guys so you know what's in it. And so it's kind of been busy. Polly Joe is actually going to be here next week. Yeah, she's got her class, Awakening to Your True Potential. It is hugely an empowerment weekend. If you feel like you're stuck, that you just don't know what more or why you're not moving forward, that weekend might be for you. She is really going to help you remove whatever block that is, whether it's energetic, spiritual, emotional, right? Yeah, it's a life-changing kind of weekend coming up. Not this weekend, but the weekend after. That would be the weekend of, let me get my calendar up, the weekend of the 11th, 12th, and 13th. Right? Oh, and then the following weekend, online class, our very first one. I'm the guinea pig. I'm going to be teaching our very first online course. It's called Sacred Sound and You. We're going to be talking about how to use sacred sound for healing, for space clearing. We start off on Friday night for a couple hours, and we finish up on Saturday. And so if you're interested in any of those classes, I'll put the link in the chat for you. If you're interested in any of that, there's another class coming up in November as well, and that's the Journey to Remembering. I'll be teaching that class. And that is all about remembering about being in how to live your life from your heart, your high heart. So it's the balance between the head and the heart. And so we're actually going to be doing meditations, and we have a healing day involved with that one. That's on that Saturday. Yeah. So we have a few classes coming up this fall for you guys. Interested in any of that, just go to the Star Nations organization's main fan page and go to the Academy button, and you'll see all the information right there. Yeah. And we're also working on the 2020 calendar for classes. I get very excited about it whenever I think about it. Lisa's saying thank you so much. It feels close, like anything could happen. Yeah. Yeah. That's one of the reasons why I did the show last night. Yeah. The title of, using your intuition during changing times. Because it really feels like we're at one of those pivotal moments, doesn't it? And these cards that we got today certainly speak to that as well. In fact, anything and everything that you heard today with the cards that resonated with you, my suggestion is to embrace it. Embrace it. And then watch, see, sense, feel how today's energy is unfolding around you and where this information can be helpful, right? And if it didn't resonate, don't worry about it, right? There's always card draw next week to tap into. Yeah. So I'm hoping I'm going to see you in live chats for Cernations organizations, live stream shows, or perhaps in our online classes, or in one of our in-person classes. It'd be nice to meet you in person. So with that, enjoy the rest of your Wednesday, and we'll see you back here this evening for Soul Connections with Polly Jola Bay at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Bamamina, you know what that means, don't you? It's Potawatomi for until we meet again. Love you.